Ancestral worship, the denial of the Qur'an for the fairy tales of their fathers. This is what the majority say they believe in, but this is only a mirage. For this is what they see, read and understand when the Qur'an is recited. And, as if this was not enough for them, add their ancestors to the shirk mix.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
One who opposes the messenger, dissents and goes contrary to the way of the believers, after the guidance has been made plain to him, we shall let him continue in his chosen direction, and expose him to hell, a miserable destination. God will not forgive shirk, choosing authorities besides him, though he may forgive other transgressions according to his laws of forgiveness. Whoever commits shirk, has strayed far, far away, associating idols or human authorities with God in matters of obedience, subservience, worship and laws giving, is choosing parallel authorities. This is of the folly that downgrades human self to the extent that it bars it from rising to the higher levels of self-actualization. And the self then faces an insurmountable barrier to evolution in both lives.
Herd of sheep are the masses that follow blindly. Mentioning what the Qur'an says about matters of belief to most Muslims, so-called scholars included, receives a response that defies reason. But the Hadith and Sunnah says, reason tells me that a Muslim is one who submits their will to the will of Allah by following Deen Islam, the way of life He has ordained for all of us. If you do not do this, then by definition you are not a Muslim. You cannot claim to be a circle when you are a square. Worship of ancestors does not just mean bowing or praying to them, but also entails blindly adhering to what they have given us, accepting their word over that of the Qur'an. I understand that history is important, as those who do not learn from history are doomed to make the same mistakes, so learning from our ancestors is necessary, but this must be based upon what wisdom they left us and not the absurdities. When one cannot differentiate between the two, then you are deaf, dumb and blind to reason, which brings us back to what we are discussing, blind ancestral worship. Denial of every message. The universal proclamation of those who are opposed to new or 1400 years and counting clear teachings of Allah for mankind is to bring forth their utter devotion to their ancestral beliefs and rulings. When these are corrected by Allah, the majority continue in ignorance, either deliberately or through not knowing what is being said. Blind parrot recitation of words become their way of life.
When it is said to them, follow what God has revealed, they say, nay. We will follow the ways of our ancestors. What? Even though their ancestors and the ancient imams were lacking in understanding and were not rightly guided. Hidden and derivatives. Prominent, bright, lighted, clearly visible, leading. Guidance, lighthouse, a well-lit road, a landmark of identification in the desert or sea. The likeness of such blind followers is that of a herd of sheep which hear the shepherd's call, but hear in it nothing more than a sound and a shout, deaf, dumb, blind, for they do not use their reason. This is subhuman level of existence 779. Shepherd's call. Shepherd here pertains to religious leaders who have learned some meaningless words or tenets, and a herd of sheep is the masses that blindly follow them. Kufr embraces blind following in addition to denying, opposing, or concealing the truth. Perceptual senses alone cannot distinguish human beings from the rest of the animal kingdom. It is the intellectual analysis that sets them apart. And we gave distinction to some of their ancestors, children and siblings and guided them to the straight path. This verse also negates the myth of virgin birth, as Jesus is included among prophets whose fathers were blessed. Our Baba, fathers, forefathers, ancestor, this is the guidance of God. He guides his servants according to his laws. If they had associated others with God, their actions would have been in vain. They were the ones to whom we gave the scripture, sound judgment and profited. Now, if these people reject these truths, we have entrusted these truths to people who will not refuse to acknowledge them. Those were the ones guided by God, so follow their guidance. Say, O Messenger, I ask of you no wage for this. This guidance in the Qur'an is but a reminder to all nations. The likeness of those who choose patrons other than God is that of the spider which makes for itself a house. The frailest of all houses is the spider's house, if they reflect on what they know. Its web easily traps the weak but cannot withstand the least bit of pressure. God knows whatever they call upon instead of him. He is almighty, wise. Such are the examples we cite for mankind, but only men and women with knowledge of sciences will make best use of their intellect. Alim, scientist, a knowledgeable person.
The Quran states that it is the only guidance we need, and to follow the rules and fairy tales of our ancestors is completely wrong. It does acknowledge the wisdom of following some of them, but this has the big proviso that they were rightly guided by Allah through his teachings, and if they left us their teachings, then they must agree with that of the Quran. Believing in every absurdity because they have the authority of a past scholar is the act of the blind to Quranic reasoning. Better guidance than ancestral ones.
What? Have we given them a scripture before this to which they are holding fast? Nay, but they say, we found our fathers following a certain religion, and we find our way in their footprints. Likewise, whenever we sent before you a warner to any township, its wealthy one said, Behold, we have found our forefathers following a certain religion, and we will follow in their footsteps. Ummah, a community with common beliefs equals those who share a common religion. Mutrafin equals the wealthy, those given to material possessions, the social and financial elite, those steeped in luxury, those who are used to enjoying the fruit of others' labor, those who thrive on easy money, who get wealthy without hard work. He said, What? Even though I bring you better guidance than that you found your ancestors following. They replied, We deny that there is any truth in what you are sent with. And so we requited them. Then see the end of the rejectors.
The messenger was denied his hadith.
This is the revealed word in the dialect of a noble messenger. This is not the utterance of a poet. Seldom do you choose to believe, nor is it the word of a soothsayer. Little of your intellect do you bring to use, it is a revelation from the Lord of the worlds, and if he had ascribed his sayings to us, we would have taken him by the right hand, and would have cut off his aorta, wartine, artery of the heart, lifeline, life artery, strength, revelation to the prophet. This implies that no true prophet could possibly propagate falsehood, and none of you could stop us from doing that. But it is a reminder and a giver of eminence to those who seek to live upright. We know well that among you will be deniers, and this denial will become a source of regret for the rejectors.
This means that there is no authority in the Quran for the messenger to leave us his sayings, hadith, to follow as a religiously binding obligation. Let me repeat, every verse quoted by the Bukhari and Hadith worshippers to prove that the Quran justifies the following of the Hadith narrations, obey the messenger, etc., cannot mean this, as they contradict a clear teaching of the Quran. Each tune alif lam mim contradict this clear verse. That means religious obligations our ancestors have given us are to be rejected, and to give them on the authority of the messenger is placing your aortas, on the chopping block.
Has not the history of the previous communities reached you? The history of the people of Noah and Ad and Thamud, and of those who came after them? None knows them but God. To them came their messengers with clear evidence of the truth, but they put their hands on their mouths and said, "Look, we reject what you are sent with. We are in great doubt concerning what you are inviting to us." Their messengers said, "Can there be any doubt about God, the initiator of the heavens and earth? He only calls you that he may grant you the protection of his forgiveness for your trailing behind in humanity and to bring your end until an appointed time." They said, You are but mortals like us. You want to bar us from what our ancestors used to worship. Then bring us a clear authority. God is far too glorious from feeling offended by idol worship in any form. But submitting to false deities and authorities is the root cause of inequities in any society, such as superstition, exploitation, ritualism and division of humanity into castes and sects, and the resulting violation of human rights. That is why all messengers of God began their mission by calling people to the service and obedience of the one true God. Without exception, their messengers said to them, "Yes, we are human beings like yourselves. But God gives his grace of revelation to whom he chooses among his servants. It is not for us to bring you an authority except as God permits, and all believers put their trust in God." Why should we not put our trust in God? He has shown us the ways we follow. We shall certainly endure with uncompromising resolve whatever torment you inflict upon us. Let those who trust put their trust in God. Trusting in God is trusting the permanence of his laws. The rejectors resorted to threatening the messengers, "Be sure, we will banish you from our land unless you return to our religion." But their Lord revealed to them, "We will subdue those who try to relegate the truth and insist on running oppressive systems." Salamine expansively translated in the last line.
We reject what you are sent with. The last messenger had a message, and it did not involve as a person his every action or words, much of which were made up anyway, but only what was revealed to him, Al-Qur'an. Hearing and sight and mind, so use them.
But they, mankind, have torn their affair of unity between them into sects, each sect rejoicing in what it has. Leave them alone, lost in their ignorance until a time, and the truth will ultimately prevail. Do they think that, since we continue to provide them with wealth and children, we are being swift to them with good things? Nay, but they perceive not, surely, those who are awe-inspired and conscious of their Lord, and have conviction in the messages of their Lord, and do not associate anyone with him, and give of their wealth and persons whatever they can, and are still afraid because they have to return to their Lord. It is those who race with one another to improve the quality of life for humanity, and it is those who are worthy of winning good things. We do not burden any human being with more than he or she is able to bear, and with us is a record that speaks the truth about what you can and cannot do. And so, none shall be wronged. Burden, challenges come your way to let you expand your potential. One is only accountable for one's capacity. Nay, but their hearts are oblivious to this Qur'an, for they are too busy doing other things, and they will keep doing so. When we grasp their rich elite with retribution, they will moan and groan. Do not complain now. You deserve no help from us. My messages were conveyed to you, but you used to turn back on your heels, in arrogance, talking nonsense about these verses like people telling fables far into the night. Have they not pondered the word? Is the revelation something that never came to their remote ancestors? Or do they not recognize their messenger, that they deny him? Or do they say, there is madness in him? Nay, he brings them the truth. and most of them detest them, want him to make compromises, and if the truth had followed their whims, certainly the heavens and the earth and all beings therein would have suffered chaos. Nay, we have given them their reminder, but they turn away from their reminder that can give them eminence. O Messenger, do you ask them for any tribute? They must know that your Lord's tribute is best, for He is the best of providers. Certainly, you call them onto a straight path, but those who disbelieve in the life to come are bound to deviate from the right path. Even if we had mercy on them and relieved them of their suffering, they would obstinately persist in their transgression, wandering to and fro. We tested them through suffering, but they did not humble themselves before their Lord, nor implored Him, until when we open for them the gate of severe retribution. They will then be plunged in despair. O mankind, He is the one who has created for you hearing and sight, and mind, the faculties to perceive and conceive. But how seldom do you show gratitude by really using them?
Allah is our only guide.
Such is God, your Lord. There is no God but He. No one is worthy of worship and obedience but He, the Creator of all things, so obey Him. He is the guardian of all and takes care of everything.
This our ancestors have given us in the name of the Messenger, whether true or false, are to be rejected as a source of Islamic dogmas.
Say, O Messenger, I do not claim that I have the treasures of God, nor do I have the knowledge of the unseen, nor do I tell you that I am an angel. I follow what is revealed to me. You blindly follow your ancestors. Say, is the blind of the heart the same as the seer who uses reason? Would you not reflect?
Kufr, denial or rejection of the truth, concealing the truth, ingratitude, choosing to live in the darkness of ignorance, hiding or covering something, closing eyes to the light of truth, stubborn denial of the truth, concealing the truth, knowingly oppose the truth, uncritical adherence to ancestral views, trying to be the majority without discernment. Kafir, one given to kafr, one who adamantly denies or opposes the truth, commonly translated as infidel, derivatively and positively, a farmer who hides the seed under the soil. Therefore, kufr or kafir does not apply to the unaware, anyone to whom the message has not been conveyed or reached. Mushrik, idolater, pagan, anyone who ascribes divinity to other than the one true God, who associates partners with Him, who prefers man-made tenets, who worships idols in any form such as statues, own desire, forces in nature, any of God's creation, one who uncritically follows what others do, a blind follower, one who considers men as authorities instead of the divine revelation, anyone who makes lists of halal, permissible, and haram, forbidden, from outside the Qur'an, one who believes in clergy against the divine revelation, who adores saints, political or religious leaders in lieu of God, who bows or prostrates physically or mentally before any creation, who promotes themes, dogmas and tenets contrary to the Qur'an. Shirk, the act of being a mushrik, associating others with God, accepting human authorities parallel to divine revelation, sectarianism, idol worship in any form, being content with man-made systems, worshipping graves, saints, ancestors or one's own desire, blind following or accepting religious information without discernment, failing to use the divine word as the criterion.
Quranic understanding to reflect upon. Bukharians belong to the religion of Bukharianism by following the ancestors who have given them their religious obligations. This is an act of kufr by the kafir who are committing shirk by becoming mushrik. The Quran Unchained.